If you're watching this screencast, you either signed up to volunteer or expressed an interest in volunteering. I want to first begin by saying thank you. Drupalgovcon is entirely run by volunteers, and we appreciate all that you do to make this event successful. So let's begin. There's some important information that you need to know. First, make sure you have an account on Drupalgovcon's website. And then once you have an account, make sure you're registered for the conference. If you already have an account and you want to make sure that you're registered, click on View Profile, and underneath registrations, check for 2020 registration. If you see that, that means that you are registered. This is an important step as it will allow you to see the primary and alternate Zoom room links and Slack channels that are associated with each session, session track, or keynote that will be used throughout the conference. And this information you will need to know so that you can join the appropriate Zoom rooms. Second, join Drupalgovcon Slack channel. Here you will find channels related to keynotes, track sessions, help desk, and other useful channels. And it's a great way to communicate outside of the Zoom rooms. And lastly, review the 2020 volunteer schedule and sign up for particular roles that fit your time and that you're comfortable doing. So let's take a look at the volunteer schedule. The first tab on this schedule provides a guide on filling out the spreadsheet. The second tab is where you provide your contact information. So you leave your first name, your last name, your email, and any useful information you think we need to know regarding the conference. The third tab contains a list of all of the volunteer roles. And I won't go through each of these in detail, but at a high level, we have Zoom room volunteers, help desk volunteers, tech support, networking volunteers, code contribution volunteers, floaters, and lastly, keynote stage managers. The last two tabs show the schedule for the conference, and also each column represents the various volunteer roles that need to be filled. So the blue boxes are where you would fill in your name for a particular volunteer role that you want to fill. So we have the floating volunteers, help desk volunteers, tech support. We have the session rooms, the Acquia room, Debug Academy, and so on. And here you would actually, based upon your schedule and what best fits your time and your role, fill out, leave your name so that we know which role and time slot that you are filling. Lastly, I would like to show you how to monitor a Zoom room. So if it's the beginning of the day in the first session and you were the first Zoom room monitor, you should join the Zoom room as a host and you will be provided that information. If you are joining a previously running Zoom room, you will need to wait until the end of the session so that the current Zoom room monitor can make you a host. So let's take a look at the Zoom screen. So I'm going to click at the bottom. You'll see different buttons. I'm going to click on the participant button, which allows me to see the various participants within the Zoom room. And so you noticed I am the Zoom room monitor and I am listed as host. So if you are coming into a room and you are replacing the existing Zoom room monitor, they would need to hand over, make you a host. And so as you can see here, I selected that particular person and then I would make them the host. So it's important as a room monitor that you are the host of the Zoom room. In between speakers, you should share the placeholder GovCon slide. That placeholder GovCon slide lists the room, the track name, provides instructions on joining the rooms and the Slack channels that are associated to those rooms, as well as the sponsors' names and the logos. So next, I'm going to show you how to do that in between sessions, so at the end of sessions. So what I'm going to do, so here is my GovCon placeholder slide, and we will also provide those. So I'm going to go back to the Zoom screen, and I'm going to share my screen. So I find the screen that I want to share, and I select it, and I click the blue share button. So now I am sharing my screen. So one helpful hint is that oftentimes when I'm sharing my screen, I often want to kind of do other things without participants being aware. So in order to do that, what you would do is pause your share screen. And so that enables you to kind of go to other pages. So let's say, for example, I wanted to view my schedule, I wanted to view the schedule in general, or I wanted to communicate via Slack. I could do that, and users are Zoom room users are unaware that all they see is the placeholder GovCon slide. So now that I've showed you how to share the placeholder GovCon slide, now I'm going to walk through what the timeline or the steps may look like for a Zoom room monitor. So before the session, it's important to make the speaker a co-host. So here you see I have the session speaker within the participant window. And again, at the bottom, you have your different options. You can click on participant to toggle in and out of seeing it. So I click on participants. I click on that particular participant. Here I have session speaker, and you make them the co-host. Doing so allows them to share their screen. Once you do that, you confirm the speaker can connect and share their screen. At the start of the session, it's very important to click the record button. So I'm going to click the record button at the bottom. Again, most of the important controls are at the bottom of the Zoom window. And I'm going to record to the cloud. And that will begin recording this session. Next, I'm going to talk about the chat window. And this is an effective way to communicate individually to individual people like speakers or participants, as well as everyone. So at the bottom of the screen, I'm toggling in and out, and the chat window shows up to the right. So I can send messages to everyone. Please mute. I also have the ability, I have a button here where I can mute all, and I would suggest that you do that at the beginning of each session. You can also privately message your session speaker and tell him to start sharing the screen. And lastly, you can message and announce the speaker's name in the session title, and also let participants know if they have any questions, leave them in the chat window. During the session, mute folks. Don't forget about this mute button that's within the participant display window. Moderate chat and assist the speaker with addressing any questions. So keep up with the questions that are being added to the chat. If you run into any technical issues and you're unable to resolve them, notify the help desk Slack channel that I talked about earlier. Also, write down the number of participants 15 minutes into the session and report that number to the help desk Slack channel. And lastly, keep time and notify the speaker when they go over their allotted time. During the question and answer period, which happens after the session, read chat questions out loud for the speaker to answer. Assist the speaker with calling on participants who've raised their hands or otherwise indicated that they want to answer a question. And if necessary, cut off or mute someone whose question is too long or they're going over the allotted time. And lastly, at the end of the session, again, I'm visiting the bottom of the Zoom screen. I'm going to stop recording. So I'm going to hit stop, and I'm going to, in a pop-up stop cloud recording will show up. I'm going to select stop recording. You then thank the speaker and everyone for joining, announce the next session and when it will start, and then you can again start to share the placeholder slide again if you're the moderator for the next session. If you are not, then you would want to, again, make the next Zoom room monitor a host. All of this information I just covered can be found on the volunteer page, which is underneath the program main navigation. And this page is actively being updated. So you should use this as a reference for volunteering. Additionally, if you have any questions questions, please visit the Slack, the Drupalgovcon 2020 Slack in the help desk channel if you have any questions. Thank you.